The boy gave himself to his lover. But the next day he left without orders. Qingheng woke up at 3 in the afternoon. Jiang Yumian wasn't lying next to him. And for the next 8 years, never lay by his side again. He became the only guy who lost his wife by sleep. 8 years later, Qingheng, now successful, returned to his hometown, planning to build a new library for the town. The director led him to the old library, when he suddenly spotted a very familiar figure. No one knows why he'd settled for working as a librarian in this small place. Qingheng saw the man holding a newspaper, so he rushed over and helped steady the papers. When he saw that face he'd been thinking about all this time, Jiang Yumian looked down awkwardly, but Qingheng suddenly pulled him into his arms, leaning close to him. The director looked up at the ceiling, confused. Looks like the light. I'll find someone to fix you. Qingheng smiled. No worries, you go ahead, just have your librarian walk me back. Jiang Yumian didn't like talking to people. The director was about to talk, but surprisingly, Jiang Yumian agreed. The snow outside the library was... Jiang Yumian slipped and nearly fell. Luckily, Qingheng caught him in his arms. Jiang Yumian pushed him away and awkwardly thanked him. Once in the car, he didn't say a word. The road felt both long and short. Soon they arrived at the hotel. Qingheng asked if he wanted to come up. Don't worry, I'm sitting on a chair. Jiang Yumian hesitated in the car for a while, worried the other would figure out why he'd moved here, but eventually agreed to Qingheng's request. Qingheng caught up with Jiang Yumian, asking where he'd been all these years. Jiang Yumian answered honestly calmly. Smiled. Jiang Yumian's face turned bright red. Don't flatter yourself. Qingheng suddenly leaned close. Am I flattering myself? Then he pinned Jiang Yumian down. You're the one who used to sneak and skip class to get a room with me, right? That was the... Jiang Yumian's eyes welled up with tears. I used to like you, but you didn't want me following you around. Qingheng laughed in disgust. 8 years ago you had your way with me and then ghosted me. And now you're saying I didn't like you. Jiang Yumian looked pitiful. Qingheng's face softened. Mian, I wanted to take you with me. But you disappeared for 8 whole years. Their story began that summer. Jiang Yumian was an unloved illegitimate rich kid, and his mother was totally unreliable, often leaving him alone with the housekeeper. To improve his grades, she hired a tutor. That was Qingheng, working his way through college. The first time he met Qingheng, Jiang Yumian completely ignored him, determined to kick out this guy interrupting his TV time, even offering double what his mom was paying. But Qingheng wasn't having it. No studying. Jiang Yumian tried to resist, but eventually lost to Qingheng. He didn't know yet that the tutor he wanted to get rid of would be the person he'd loved deeply. Just because he couldn't get it up at 3 in the afternoon, his wife ran off on him. When they met again, 8 years had passed. Hongheng had become a rising entrepreneur. Jiang Yumian had transformed from a lonely rich kid into a refined young man. They held each other, lost in memories. They first met 8 years ago, one summer. Jiang Yumian really hated the tutor his mom hired, willing to pay extra just to get rid of her. But even a fierce puppy is still a pup. No match for the big bad wolf Qingheng. Qingheng thought he had Jiang Yumian figured out, but after just a few minutes, the kid was passed out on the desk. Qingheng tried shaking him, no response. Then he lifted his face to wake him, only to get a handful of drool. Qingheng was furious, but still gently wiped the drool away. Only then did Jiang Yumian slowly wake up, thinking class was over. He groggily stood up, ready to go back to his room to sleep. Qingheng was so mad at her, he blocked the study door with his hand, warning Jiang Yumian that now that he's ill. Jiang Yumian was livid too. Why should I listen to you? My mom hired her. Not a day. Qingheng didn't care if he liked it or not. He grabbed Jiang Yumian by the scruff of his neck, like picking up a little chick, and tossed him onto the couch, then threw the math book at him. Jiang Yumian tried to resist, but Qingheng rolled up his sleeves. Don't waste my time. After this lesson I have kickboxing practice. Jiang Yumian shuddered, imagining what would happen if he didn't stop, and obediently went back to his seat. His sudden compliance surprised even Qingheng. Finally, midnight arrived. Jiang Yumian yawned, and locked eyes with Qingheng packing his bag. Finally, he was leaving. But then Qingheng said he'd be back tomorrow night. He was miserable but couldn't say anything to intimidate the difficult Jiang Yumian. The next day he showed up with stubble, trying to look as fierce as possible. The housekeeper had to go out, so she asked Qingheng to make sure Jiang Yumian ate. Qingheng didn't say much. He's a grown man, can't he feed himself? When he saw Jiang Yumian putting a crab leg with the shell into his mouth, he realized the housekeeper was right. He picked up scissors and showed Jiang Yumian the right way. Jiang Yumian clumsily copied him, and actually managed to shell a piece. Jiang Yumian's eyes curved into crescent. You taught me something useful. Qingheng tapped his head, laughing. Eat up, we still have tutoring after. Yumian held his head looking pitiful, taking tiny bites to stall for time. Qingheng saw right through him, and dragged him straight into the study. Here comes the stairway warrior everyone's been waiting for. Mian was late to school again, and got caught by the disciplinary dean. You. Perming your hair is one, but why'd you dye it blonde? Mian tried to say it was natural, but the dean wouldn't listen, warning him not to come back until he fixed his hair. Meanwhile, Qingheng was out with classmates when he spotted a familiar figure at a salon. It was little Mian getting his hair done, so he said goodbye to his friend and walked into the salon. The stylist was about to greet him, But Qin Heng stopped him and, pointing at Mian Mian fast asleep. Then he leaned close to his pink little face, and couldn't help pinching his cheek. Mian Mian woke up, already in the bed more, and got even madder when he saw it was Qin. Mian Mian sat on the chair, fuming. When the stylist took him to wash his hair, Mian Mian glanced at Qin Heng, saying he wants shui, and it had to be from his restaurant. Did I say I'd bring you food? Qin Heng teased him. Mian Mian pretended not to hear, telling him to add a tuna salad too. Qin Heng wanted to pat Mian Mian's head, but couldn't find a spot. So he straightened the tray around his neck instead, explaining he was gonna hang with his friend. While Qin Heng was eating with his friends, he suddenly got bombarded with texts from Mian Mian, so he had to say goodbye to his friend and go get Mian Mian his takeout. Mian Mian was really demanding, refusing to let the stylist buy, insisting it had to be Qin Heng. When Qin Heng walked in, he complained with a straight face that he was starving. Qin Heng put the food on a nearby chair. Mian Mian couldn't reach it and was freaking out. Qin Heng sighed and split the chopstick and fed him himself. Mian Mian smiled satisfied, immediately offering to give Qin Heng a raise. Looking at the cash in Mian Mian, Qin Heng stared at him expressionlessly for a few seconds, then turned and walked out of the salon without a word. Mian Mian was confused. Why was Qin Heng suddenly? The stylist told him, "Kid, that's insulting." Mian Mian ate absent-mindedly, thinking Qin Heng didn't have much money. Why would he get mad about extra pay? Shouldn't he be grateful? It was tutoring time again. Mian Mian finally heard the door open, but it was just the housekeeper. He felt awful for days, completely confused why Qin Heng was mad. On the third day, Qin Heng finally came. Mian Mian opened the door and said they'd missed a session. He didn't actually want tutoring. He just wanted to understand why Qin Heng was angry. Finally, he worked up the courage to ask Qin Heng. It was impossible to dislike, but Qin Heng didn't know how to explain, so he changed the subject and started tutoring. Qin Heng took a call, discussing student council stuff. After hanging up, he found Mian Mian staring at him. Mian Mian asked if college was fun, and how it was different from high school. Qin Heng patiently, "It's more free than high school, and you make more friends." Mian Mian shook his head, disappointed. "I'm already free. I don't need friends." Jiang Yumian could be infuriating sometimes, but when he said he didn't need friends, he sounded kind of pitiful, especially seeing Mian Mian always alone. Qin Heng felt more sympathy for this socially awkward kid. Half an hour later, Jiang Yumian fell asleep during the lesson. Qin Heng figured there was no point in pitying him. Some thugs were about to assault the boy. Qin Heng passing by didn't want to get involved, but when he saw it was Mian Mian, he strode over. Mian Mian rushed over and grabbed his arm, timidly begging Qin Heng to save him. Qin Heng was half a head taller than the thugs, and he knew kickbox. The ringleader could tell he was trouble, so they slunk away. Qin Heng asked Mian Mian why he was wandering around so late, being such a chicken and still walking at night. Mian Mian looked pitiful, explaining he wanted to go to an internet cafe. "Today's my 18th birthday." No one remembered. I saw online that someone went to an internet cafe on their 18th birthday, and the owner wished them happy birthday while checking their ID. I ran into those thugs on the way. Mian Mian suddenly looked up at Qin Heng. "Sorry you had to see that. I'll head home now." "Jiang Yumian," Qin Heng suddenly called out. "Happy birthday. It's too late now, or I would have bought you a cake." Mian Mian turned back to thank him. "I thought you really hated me." Qin Heng smiled. He wasn't that petty. To him, Mian Mian was just a kid who just turned 18. A little quirky friend, that's all. Mian Mian fumbled for his keys, saying goodbye to. Just then, Qin Heng noticed Mian Mian's hand was bleeding. His heart tightened and he called out Jiang Yumian's name. Rushing over anxiously, he lifted his hand and asked how he got hurt. Mian Mian was about to say he didn't know, when Qin Heng's phone rang. But Qin Heng ignored it, pulling him to the elevator, asking if he had a first aid kit. Mian Mian said he didn't know. They searched forever before finding it. Qin Heng carefully treated Mian Mian's wound. Mian Mian felt uncomfortable. No one had ever been this nice to him. Qin Heng noticed his color was and touched his forehead, telling Mian Mian helplessly that he had a Mian Mian collapsed on the couch. "What do I do with a fever?" Qin Heng was tired but couldn't leave sick Mian Mian alone, so he prepared to go buy medicine. But Mian Mian stopped him. "I don't want medicine. Can you buy me food?" Qin Heng was exhausted, telling himself, he's just a sick birthday boy. Jiang Yumian's life seemed to be just eating and sleeping. Qin Heng didn't buy. He checked the fridge and found some ingredients. Made Mian Mian a bowl of noodles. Even thoughtfully added a poached egg. Mian Mian happily grabbed the chopsticks, picked up the egg, and asked if it meant something special. "It does." But seeing Mian Mian's hopeful face, he softened, ruffled his hair, explained it's something you always find in longevity. It means the birthday person should be happy every single day. First time Mian Mian thought noodles tasted this good. He cleaned his bowl in no time. But the fever medicine Qin Heng brought over, he drank it all down. From that day on, he even asked for extra lessons, looking forward to seeing Qin Heng every day. His secret crush slowly took root in his heart. Because of a bowl of longevity noodles with a poach, the boy fell for his tutor. While he was still lost in sweet daydreams, Qin Heng finished work for the day, planned to drop by Mian Mian's place for a surprise check, see if he was actually sleeping. So he called. "It's 10 o'clock, are you in bed?" On Mian Mian's end, the movie was blasting, but he insisted he just finished his practice and was heading to bed. Qin Heng was fuming. "You're obviously watching a movie." Mian Mian quickly turned off the TV completely. Qin Heng wasn't having it. Told Mian Mian to open the door right now. Mian Mian tried to stall, took forever before finally opening the door. I was about to fall asleep. You sure about that? Qin Heng's presence was intimidating. Mian sheepishly stepped aside to let him in. Qin Heng touched the player by the screen, still warm, crossed his arms and stared at Mian. Asked what time he started what. Guilty Mian kept his head down, not answering. Then Qin Heng spotted 2 pencils on the floor. Sarcastically, wow, Jiang Yumian actually does homework in the home theater now. Then held out his hand for the test paper. Mian hesitated forever, searching. Finally handed over a crumpled test paper. Qin Heng examined it carefully. Just a bunch of messy scribbles on it. He obviously got distracted by what was on the screen. His hand had no idea what it was writing. Qin Heng sighed. Asked Mian for the home theater key. Said from now on he studies in the study room. He'd hold on to the home theater key. Under the big bad wolf's authority. Mian reluctantly handed over the key. Then timidly asked if he could get it back on the weekend. Qin Heng refused cold. You'll get it back and look. Before long was the end. Mian's grades improved quite a bit, but getting into college was still a stretch. So he asked Qin Heng if he could buy the college entrance exam answer. Looking at Qin Heng's deadpan, Mian hung his head. What am I gonna do? Qin Heng couldn't help but laugh. With those grades, you think you can get into the same university as me? Mian was steaming mad. Why are you making fun of me? Qin Heng finally stopped. Well, it's good for young people to have dreams. Mian snatched the test paper back all huffing, then shoved it under a thick stack of books, refusing to let Qin Heng see it. Final exams are coming. You gonna let me help you or not? Mian felt a little shy. I mean, okay. But stop laughing. I won't make fun of you anymore. Mian happily pulled out the test paper. But Mian just stared at him with hearts in his eyes, then softly called his name. Qin Heng turned his head confused. Mian tested the waters. If I get 100 on the final, will you take me to the amusement park? Qin Heng couldn't help but feel sorry for Mian. That's his biggest wish, ha. Zhang Yumian really has nothing, except money. Under Mian's super hopeful gaze, Qin Heng's heart melted. Promised him even if he doesn't get 100. Wherever you want to go, I'll go with you. Mian's eyes sparkled. Can I visit your place? Qin Heng didn't outright say no. Said we'll see when the time comes. Mian knew that meant yes. He was so happy he was practically bought. Just as Qin Heng got to a key problem, Mian suddenly changed the subject again. Asked if Qin Heng ever went to Riverside Park. Qin Heng was losing his patience. Slammed the book shut. Felt like he wasn't tutoring the student, but raising a little prick. Mian tilted his head confused. Looked like a kitten caught doing something wrong. Heng felt a tickle in his chest. Forgot what he was about to scold Mian for. Almost turned into a daddy dynamic. That day after Mian handed in his test to Qin Heng, he happily skipped off to take a shower. While Qin Heng was grading the test, suddenly heard the door open outside. A flashy dressed woman stumbled in drunk. She froze when she saw Qin Heng. For real? What are you doing in my house? Qin Heng guessed she was Mian's mom. Stepped forward to greet her, explained he was the tutor. The woman didn't expect the tutor to be this hot. Gave him a flirty smile and moved closer. Pretended to trip and tried to fall into Qin Heng's arms. Qin Heng instinctively stepped back. Laughed awkwardly. The more he backed away, the more she moved forward. Then grabbed Qin Heng's hand. Tutor, you have such nice hands. Qin Heng pulled his head. But the woman couldn't resist Qin Heng's intense presence. Blushing, she moved even closer. I'm not heavy. Want to hold me and see? No thanks. Mian seeing the scene, angrily shouted his mother's name, then rushed down from upstairs. The woman enthusiastically opened up, thinking her son was welcoming her. But Mian was shaking with anger. Stared straight at the woman and told her. The woman frowned, scolding her son for being rude. Mian just got more heat. The woman angrily smashed the glass on the floor. Jiang Yumian, is that how you talk to your mother? Qin Heng didn't want to get involved in their family drama. Told Mian he was heading home. But seeing how upset Mian looked, he felt. Told him he'd call once he got home. Mian grabbed his head and said he'd walk him out. Qin Heng smiled gently and didn't. In the other, Mian held back tears and apologized to Qin Heng. Qin Heng looked at Mian with sympathy. Then, without thinking, reached out and hugged him. Told him it's okay, don't worry about it. And promised after the exam, he'd take me to the amusement park to relax. Mian head down, pushed Qin Heng away and said goodbye. Then walked back into the elevator. But as soon as Qin Heng got downstairs, he got a text from Mian. Didn't want to stay home anymore. Qin Heng barely managed to talk him out of running away. Mian said all the right thing, but went straight to a hotel by the school. After a week at the hotel, he was stung for a while before snapping out. Sent Qin Heng the hotel address. And Qin Heng got to the hotel. Mian opened the door. Looking all worn out, let him into the room. Qin Heng noticed the room was a total mess. Hawk Yuli counted on his fingers, but couldn't come up with an answer. Qin Heng helped him clean up the room. Mian refused. No way. Tomorrow you're taking me out. Qin was a bit helpless. Fine. Where do you want to go? Mian thought for ages but couldn't think of anywhere fun. Qin Heng glanced at him. Let's go find you an apartment. If you keep staying here, you're done for. Just then, Mian's phone rang. It was his class rep call, asking why he didn't come up his report card. Seeing Mian's totally lost expression, Qin Heng knew this guy had lost track of the days. Had to drag him to school first to get the report card. Seeing Mian still hesitating and trying to Qin Heng added, get the report card and I'll take you to the amusement park. Zhang Yumian's eyes lit up like stars. Grabbed Qin Heng and ran toward the school. After getting the report, Qin Heng was a bit surprised. Don't call me that. It's embarrassing. Mian jumped up to grab the report card, but accidentally bumped into Qin Heng's chest. The tension got real off. Just like that, You know what Mian Mian is to in his eyes. After moving to the knee, Chun Heng was helping Mian Mian pack to move. Then his phone suddenly rang. It was his roommate Lu Joki calling. He pitched his voice up and asked Chun Heng what he was up to last night. Said he bet everything he had. Whether he gets an upgrade on the flight home depends on his answer. Asked what they were betting on. I bet you were out with a girl. Lu Joki smirked mischievously. Is it the hottie from the English department? Chun Heng coldly replied. Another roommate guessed a few more girls, but Chun Heng shot them all down. Glanced thoughtfully at Mian Mian crouching on the floor, then hung up. Just then Mian Mian said to Chun Heng, really envied him having so many good friends. Chun Heng brushed it off, said they're just a bunch of troublemakers. But Mian Mian hit him with the real question. What about me? What about you? Chun Heng raised an eyebrow. Mian Mian looked down, his face all red, and it was a Chun Heng. Chun Heng was caught off guard, didn't know how to respond. He honestly never thought about it. Looked at Mian Mian for a while, couldn't put it in. Ruffled his fluffy hair. Dodged the question and said, you're my little buddy. Mian Mian was about to say something, but Chun Heng suddenly took the clothes, carefully folded them for him. Completely missed Mian Mian's disappointed pout. As soon as Chun Heng got back to his door, Liu Zhouqi was the first to tease him. Said that fresh scent on me must be from the campus. Made Chun Heng want to smash the fried rice in his face. He went to the bathroom to shower. After his shower, his roommates were chatting. His roommate Li Chang handed him a beer. He asked where he'd been the past few days. Chun Heng didn't hide it. Said he was with the kitty tutors. Everyone looked at each other. Totally floored. What's so special about this kid? Got you so hooked you won't even come back to the dorm. But quit talking nonsense. Just then, his phone rang. His roommates all leaned in ready for the tea. Chun Heng left them behind and walked to the balcony to answer. He heard a soft, weak voice come through, saying they were out of laundry tea. Chun Heng knew why he was scared to go out and buy. That time he got cornered in the alley, left him traumatized. He patiently said he'd buy it for him tomorrow. Hat was all over the place. Asked if he could see him off when the time came. Looking at his roommates waiting for gossip behind. Chun Heng instantly lost any desire to keep talking. He turned down Mian Mian's request, told him to just do his problems at home. Mian Mian felt really late, but he still sweetly wished Chun Heng a safe trip. Before long it was New Year's Day. Chun Heng got tons of holiday texts, but he didn't get one from Mian Mian. So he called him first. Asked Mian Mian what he was up to. Mian Mian said he was watching a new horror movie. Was a bit surprised. You're watching it alone. Mian Mian said sadly that his mom went to hiding for the holiday. He didn't want to go, so it was just him. Chun Heng's feelings were complicated. They chatted a bit, then he hung up with Mian Mian. He stayed restlessly, then he chose to hide out. He wondered if Mian Mian would see him. Would he be so moved he'd offer himself up in return? Chun Heng just lit one up, then handed it over for him to try. Little Mian Mian's slender fingers held the cigarette. He carefully took a drag. He didn't know how to inhale, so he just blew it back out the same. Chun Heng cracked up at the sight. He took the cigarette back, then brought it to his lips and took it. 1 second he was staring at Mian Mian tenderly. Next second he blew all the smoke right in his face. After his prank, Chun Heng felt great, but little Mian Mian's heart was like it had a little deer bouncing around inside. He shyly looked down, too embarrassed to speak. Chun Heng didn't notice anything off about him. He leaned back on the couch and turned up. Then Mian Mian suddenly asked why he didn't go back to Leech. Chun Heng explained there's no one at home anyway, so there's no point in going back. Mian Mian glanced at Chun Heng. Said he actually has quite a few family members, but his young boy was illegitimate. When his mom was within a 20, he was already over 60. He doesn't even know a lot of his half-siblings. His mom only had him to climb the ladder. Chun Heng had heard of Jiang Boywen. The guy's one of the top tycoons in the country. Little Mian Mian's brain works in mysterious ways. He suddenly got up mid-sentence and ran off. He came back from the bedroom with a little bag for Qing. Said it was a New Year's gift. Inside was an expensive imported pen. He closed the case. Awkwardly said he didn't prepare a gift. What should he do? Little Mian Mian yawned and said it's fine. He got up to go sleep in his room. The TV in the living room was showing the New Year's gala. An actress was throwing a fit, demanding the actor carry her upstairs. Little Mian Mian's eyes darted around. Then he quietly snuck up behind Chun Heng. Suddenly grabbed him and tried to climb on his back. Copying the actress in a duty voice, asking him to carry him. But Chun Heng wasn't having it. He turned around and pinned little Mian Mian on the couch, tickling him while warning him not to mess around. Mian Mian dodged and laughed, showing off a fang and 2 dimples. Chun Heng felt his heart skip and froze. Then he pulled Mian Mian into his arms and walked upstairs very sure. When they got to the room, he tossed Mian Mian hard onto the bed, then casually asked where he was sleeping tonight. Mian Mian patted the empty spot next to him. Chun Heng coughed awkwardly. He thought he'd have to sleep on the couch. Just then, Mian Mian suddenly shouted Chun Heng's name. Happy New Year, we're both a year older now. Chun Heng was amused by how cute Mian Mian was. He leaned over and grabbed his shoulder. Yeah, Mian Mian's 19 now. Mian Mian mimicked Chun Heng's tone. Yeah, Chun Heng's in his 20s now. As expected, he got pinned down on the bed by Chun Heng, who punished him with a tickle attack. Mian Mian was about to cry from laughing so hard. He jumped straight off the bed. Chun Heng frowned. Of course, Mian Mian complained, but you gotta promise not to tickle me first. Did Mian Mian climb back? Chun Heng grabbed his ice-cold little hand, then wrapped him up in the blanket and held him close to warm him up. After Mian Mian fell asleep, he still wasn't satisfied. He turned off the alarm clock before finally drifting off himself. When did Chun Heng start falling for Mian Mian? Was it when he saved him from those thugs in the alley? When he made him a bowl of egg drops? When at the amusement park when he put the shark hat on? When he was stunned by how cute he looked? Or was it when he couldn't resist Mian Mian's pest and had to carry him upstairs to bed? The usually disciplined always felt so at ease sleeping with Mian Mian. He accidentally slept until noon the next day. He opened his eyes to see a curly-haired head pressed against his chest. Chun Heng lifted Mian Mian's head and placed it on the pillow. Watching him sleep, he looked so soft and adorable. He couldn't help wanting to tease Mian. His finger played with Mian Mian's lips. He didn't expect to press too hard and wake him. Mian Mian looked totally half asleep. He asked what he was doing. Then he rolled over and sat up, asking Qin Hang what time it was. Qin Hang checked his phone and told him 11 o'clock. He suddenly noticed a bunch of New Year's texts. Too lazy to call back, he just wrote a mass text. Little Mian Mian leaned over, looking envious. You know so many people. Not like me. I only know you. Qin Hang glanced at Mian Mian. He turned away so he couldn't see his phone. Next second, Mian Mian's phone suddenly buzzed. He turned and picked up his phone. It was a message from Qin Hang. He looked back to see Qin Hang smiling at him. Mian Mian, I know you too. Mian Mian's face suddenly got hot. He practically jumped out of bed. He ran out to brush his teeth and wash his face. At noon, they went to the food street together. Qin Hang had no idea Mian Mian loved shrimp dumplings. After 3 baskets, he still wasn't full and ordered another. By the last one, he finally couldn't eat anymore. Luckily, Qin Hang helped him finish it. When paying, Mian Mian had just pulled out his wallet. Qin Hang stopped him and said he'd pay. But you don't have money. His voice was really quiet. But Qin Hang still heard it. He looked down at him and said that's not for him to worry about. Mian Mian wanted to say something but got scared off by Qin Hang's look. Then he dragged Qin Hang out to go shopping. Mian Mian knew Qin Hang didn't have much money. He took initiative to buy him tons of clothes. After leaving the mall, it suddenly got cold. Mian Mian shivered from the cold. Qin Hang pulled the scarf out of the bag. While wrapping it around Mian Mian, he asked him dead serious, "You bought me all these clothes. You trying to be my sugar daddy or something?" Mian Mian thought he was mad about spending money again. He quickly explained he couldn't help buying them because Qin Hang looked too good in them. Hing stared at him silently for a few seconds. Then he took the bags from Mian Mian's hand. He held his hand and walked out of the mall. Who would have thought the cool and aloof Qin Hang could be so cute when jealous? Just because a classmate gave Mian Mian a textbook, Qin Hang got really annoyed. Especially when he found out it was a guy. He was even more ticked off. Mian Mian's new friend was named Fan Yishi. He was their class president and the classmate Mian Mian talked to the most. They agreed to meet at the library. Unlike Qin Hang, who made fun of him back then. Being encouraged, Mian Mian hit it off great. Mian Mian turned down Fan Yichis's lunch invitation, said he already had lunch plans with his tutor. Fan Yichi was pretty disappointed, but he could only watch Mian Mian leave. The first thing Qin Hang said when he saw Mian was asking what his new friend's name was. Before Mian Mian could answer, his phone rang. He checked his phone. It was from Fan Yishi. Qin Hang quietly leaned over. Yichi, he's a guy. Mian Mian was too busy replying to pay attention to Qin Hang. Qin Hang got so annoyed he grabbed his phone. He came up with a really lame excuse. Said it's bad to look at your phone while walking. He's gonna help him break that bad habit. Just then, the phone buzzed again. Mian Mian looked at Qin Hang all pitiful, asking for his phone back. But this time, Qin Hang not only ignored his whining, he shot back asking if they'd been together all afternoon. Mian Mian nodded to confirm. Qin Hang frowned. Something's off. This guy's probably got bad intentions toward Mian Mian. Qin Hang suddenly grabbed him. You hung out with that fan guy all afternoon and now you're all woke. You even take the subway now. He waved down a taxi. Mian Mian didn't get what he meant. He asked if he doesn't always take the subway. Qin Hang suddenly got inexplicably. Did I ask you to accommodate me? He pushed Mian Mian into the taxi. He wasn't paying attention. He bumped his head on the curb. Covering his head, he glared at Qin Hang. Then Qin Hang squeezed into the car too, gently rubbing Mian Mian's forehead, asking if it. Seeing no bump on Mian Mian's head, he relaxed. While rubbing his head, he called Xu Yang. Said he was bringing a loaf. Right after hanging up, Mian Mian's phone rang. He pulled it out. It was all messages from Fan Yichi. Mian Mian reached toward Qin Hang for his phone. Qin Hang was even more convinced Fan Yichi was scared. But he had no reason to keep holding Mian Mian's phone. He's really not right. Mian Mian replied to messages while responding to Qin. You're the one who's not right. Things got awkward for a bit. Mian Mian's got the mindset of a kid. Before long, he was humming along to the radio. Qin Hang just tried to calm himself. Won't ask anymore. He'll figure it out sooner or later anyway. Ever since suspecting Mian Mian had a pursuit, Qin Hang couldn't stand letting him out of his sight. Even when hanging out with friends, he had to bring Mian Mian along. Yang was Qin Hang's senior, also one of the top rich kids around, always trying to recruit Qin Hang to join his company. The first time he saw, Yang was pretty impressed. What an adorable little friend. Where'd you get your hair permed? Qin Hang hid Mian Mian behind him like he was protecting treasure. Said his little cutie has natural curl. He happened to come by, so he brought him along. Wow, well, your tutoring covers a pretty wide range. Qin Hang didn't even know how to respond to that. Mian Mian gets a bit shy around string. Qin Hang was used to it by now. Qin Hang shook his head help. He had to take the shrimp dumpling back and put it in his own mouth. Yang was stung. When did this guy get so caring? Qin, did you get possessed or something? So, he changed the subject. Mian Mian's ears suddenly perked up. Qin Hang glanced at Mian Mian and knew he couldn't hide it. Yang slumped in his chair. Looks like I'm destined to lose this genie. You're paying for this meal to make it up. Qin Hang agreed and pressed the service bell to get the check. Yang panicked. Only 8. The night's just getting started. Let's call it here for today. He woke up the drowsy Mian Mian. While helping him into his cloak, he asked if he was full. Seeing Mian Mian could barely keep his eyes open. He asked him what time he went to bed last night. Qin Hang pinched his cheeks hard, telling him to learn his lesson. Yang on the side was floored. He waved them off, telling them to just go. He couldn't handle this much sweetness. Qin Hang naturally said goodbye without any hesitation. For once, Mian Mian said he wanted to walk. He took Mian Mian's backpack and agreed. Meh walked down the quiet street.